Welcome to BREEZY Takes Manhattan. It's been a long time since I've done the show. I apologize for that. I know that the 200 people who watch these streams are missing me, but I'm here to tell you that I'm back and I'm ready to tell you what's up and what's going on. I have been busy. I've been away. I was just in Portugal for about a week and a half with my family. It was a great trip. And I've kind of just been doing a lot of familiar things in New York. It's been a while since I've done a new thing, and I intend to change that soon. But we still have a lot to talk about before I get into this Portugal trip, and it was really a wonderful experience, a wonderful country, a wonderful trip. I need to talk about the disgrace, the absolute embarrassment that was the 2025 New York Mets. And this is very raw. This played out while I was in Portugal and right when I came back a couple days ago. And I'm actually watching, the Yankees are in the playoffs right now, and I'm watching their game because they're a real baseball team, and they make the playoffs every year, unlike the loser Mets. So here's what happened. For those of you who don't know baseball is the only sport without a salary cap. So you can spend however much money you want on players. And there are luxury tax penalties the higher you spend, but you can still spend whatever you want. The New York Mets this year had a $340 million payroll, which was second in baseball, only behind the Los Angeles Dodgers, the team I used to watch all the time in Los Angeles. The New York Mets last year in 2024 came within 2 games of going to the World Series, which in baseball is the ultimate prize. You want to win the World Series, which the Mets haven't done since 1986, and which I'm starting to think they'll never do because they are just a losing organization no matter what happens and no matter what players they have and no matter what they do. It seems like they are just destined to be losers. And so what happened this season was the New York Mets had sky-high expectations. They added Juan Soto, a superstar who they took from the New York Yankees, the evil Bronx Bombers, who always get what they want. And the Mets never get what they want. Well, the Mets took their player, and everyone had sky-high expectations coming off last year. And what do these New York Mets do? They decide to miss the postseason despite, at one point this year, being 42-21. 21 games above 500. They finish 83-79 and miss the postseason. It is absolutely embarrassing. You want to talk about the embarrassment of the decade. You want to talk about the embarrassment of the century. You want to talk about the embarrassment in nearly 70 years of New York Mets baseball. It is the 2025 New York Mets. The worst, most embarrassing, disgraceful team in the history of this franchise. A franchise that has done a lot of losing and very little winning. Since the New York Mets were ill-fatedly incepted in 1962, they have made the playoffs back-to-back years twice! Twice! In 70 years of baseball, almost. Twice! This was supposed to be the third time, and they didn't do it. Twice. How does that happen in 70 years? I don't care how bad you are. How do you do that? And what made this Mets team so painful is that they had so much talent. They had 3 amazing hitters, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso. If you don't know baseball, look them up. These are great hitters. These are all-stars in baseball. These are some of the best hitters in the game. And for whatever reason, they just couldn't win as a team. They were a bunch of individuals putting up numbers, and it meant nothing. It meant nothing. And the stat that says it the most, how heartless, how gutless, how disgraceful and terrible this Mets team was. In baseball, there are 9 innings. And typically when you lose, when you're behind after 8 innings, you don't win the game. I admit that. You don't win. But you usually win a few times a year. You come back and win, maybe like 5 games, 6 games. I think in 2024, the Mets had 8 come-from-behind wins where they were down after 8 innings of the regular season. 2024 Mets were clutch. 2024 Mets had heart. They played as a team. They won as a team. This year's Mets after 8 innings when they trailed were 0-70. 0-70! The only team in Major League Baseball this year that had 0 wins after trailing after 8 innings. The Colorado Rockies, who were a terrible, awful disgrace of a baseball organization who lost 119 games out of 162, they had a comeback after 8 innings. And the New York Mets, with their $340 million payroll of propped up, overpaid, losing superstars, had 0. It's unfathomable that this could happen. And yes, I'm very emotional and I'm yelling because I had to go and witness this whole season from March to October. That's the problem with baseball. There's too many games. 162 games is too many. They need to lessen it. It used to be 154 games until, I think, 1961. Go back to that because it's just too long. It's too long with this much agony. I mean, this was an absolutely disgraceful, pitiful, heartless, gutless baseball team that let down so many people, not just me. When you're a fan like this, you're invested. You feel like you're part of the team. I feel like I was personally betrayed by this Mets team, and it's going to take years and years to forgive them for this and to recover from this. The Mets actually broke an attendance record this year, getting over 3 million fans who showed up to the ballpark. A team record. They were 5th in Major League Baseball in attendance after being 18th last year. And the owner of the Mets, Steve Cohen, who's a great man and a great owner, who's done everything he possibly can to help the Mets win, and he's not to blame for this, but he called the fans out last year. He said, we can't be 18th in attendance. You need to show up to the ballpark. And we did. I went to at least 10 games this year, I think, and I had a great time, I admit, and they won most of those games, but all of that has gone out the window. All the goodwill from almost making the World Series last year has gone right out the window, down the toilet. Because this was an embarrassment. This was horrifying to witness. And Steve Cohen could have taken that $340 million. It was really $425 million because of the luxury tax payments he had to make. It ended up being a $420 million payroll. He should have just taken that money and walked around the streets of New York and handed it out to people. Or just flew a helicopter above Manhattan and dumped it all in the street. Because that's where the money went. It went to nothing. It went to crap. It turned out to be nothing. So, yes, I'm upset. And like many Mets fans, I despise the New York Yankees. But let me tell you something. They would never let something like this happen. They have bad years, but they fight. They win. They have a will to win. And they're in the playoffs basically every year. And, you know, unfortunately, I've been a Mets fan since 2008, and it's too late to switch. Once you're this invested, you can't switch. You can't go back. And my dad, who's a wonderful, amazing man, but you know what? He's a fool because he took me to Mets games when I was little and not Yankees games, and he made me a Mets fan. He stuck this awful losing organization on me, and I can't get rid of it now. So for all of you out there who don't know baseball, who don't know sports, do not be a Mets fan. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemies. Not that I have that many enemies. I would not wish it on my worst enemies. It is just nothing but disappointment. Very little winning. There's no reason to be a Mets fan at all. You're just wasting your time. So I had to get that off my chest. And now we can talk about my trip to Portugal and how fun it was and the great time that I had. So I've been to other countries in Europe. I've been to Croatia. I've been to Iceland. I've been to Italy. And, you know, there's kind of a vibe you get and a feel you get and scenery you get with European countries. You have the old stone roads, the narrow streets, the really good and healthy food. And just, I feel like a lot of happy people, a jovial atmosphere. And Portugal was terrific. It was everything you could have asked. But we went to 3 different parts of Portugal. We went to Lisbon at the very end, which is where the airport that we flew into was. And Lisbon is the part of Portugal that is the city that I just described, with the narrow streets and the local restaurants and the bars and the crowded streets and the views. beautiful, unbelievable views in Lisbon. You could see the water. You could see like residences, hotels, buildings. There were beautiful views that were up on a hill. Very impressed by Lisbon, but we started the trip in, I think it was Altanio. I don't remember the first area, but it was a very quiet area that consisted of a lot of farmland, a lot of wineries, a lot of vineyards, and it reminded me a lot of Joshua Tree in California, which I don't know who's been to Joshua Tree, but Joshua Tree is very quiet. It's a lot of land, not a lot of lights at night because the homes are kind of spaced out, and beautiful stars though. And that was the same thing with. I wish I remembered what that first area was called, Altanio or something like that. Clean, beautiful starlit nights with very little cloud cover. And it's the lack of light. That's why you see them in Joshua Tree as well. But we stayed at a wonderful hotel there for 2 days, and that place was so quiet. You could literally just drop coins and pins, and I think you'd hear them 20 feet away from the hotel. There was nobody at that place. I guess the part of Portugal where, the tourists come and it's very crowded is August and July because it was very manageable. There were not too many people at all taking up hotel space. So that was wonderful. Then we went to Algarve for 4 nights, stayed at a wonderful resort near the beach, and Algarve reminds me of California, SoCal. I kept saying this is California, this is Orange County, this is LA. A beach area, a lot of trees, and just a lot of the layout just reminds me a lot of Orange County, and it felt very nostalgic, and I had a great time in Algarve. And if it were up to me, maybe the whole trip would have been there because I just love that beachy California vibe. Apparently, the part of Algarve we were in, I don't remember. It was I don't remember these names. They're just too hard to remember. But it was something with an AF, Afuera, or Alfafuera, something like that. Apparently, it's a big party area of Portugal. I did not see that myself. I did not go party in Portugal. But I did love Algarve, and it was great. And then we finished the trip in Lisbon, which was wonderful. Very crowded, though. I mean, the streets are... At least where our hotel was in Lisbon, the streets are packed. You have these very narrow roads, and then you have cars, constant traffic, and you kind of have to tiptoe around other people without hitting the cars in the street. So it was a very unique experience. It was a very interesting experience, and I'm so glad I went. And I'm so glad that I've gotten to see different countries in Europe and different countries in the world. Not everybody can do that, and it's not something I take lightly. It's something I really appreciate. So, other than the Mets being an embarrassment, all positive vibes coming from me. I am excited to be back in New York. I missed it the week and a half I was gone, and I feel like it's been a long time since I've done something new and exciting. I kind of feel like I do a lot of the same things. I go on these night walks to various places, whether it's the High Line, whether it's Lower East Side, Upper East Side, Central Park, other parks. I've started reading in Bryant Park, just grabbing a book and going there. They have a lot of cool stuff at the 7 o'clock hour. They have concerts. They have sometimes group readings. It's a great place to be. So I feel like I've done a lot of the same things, and I'm just waiting to do a new thing. And this weekend, I'm going to try to do something new. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I still want to go to the Met Museum. I've never been. I heard about this place called Industry City in Brooklyn that I haven't been to yet, and I'd like to go. So we'll see what I get up to this weekend. There's also football on Sunday. And football, the New York teams are terrible. That's not a surprise. The Jets are an embarrassment, 0-4. The Giants, who are the team I root for, are 1-3. So there's not a lot to look forward to this year, but I just love the game, and I love watching every Sunday. It gives me something to do on Sundays, something that's consistent, at least in the months where football's taking place, September through February. So I look forward to that, and we'll see what I get up to this weekend, and I'll be sure to I want to do these shows more regularly. It's been too long of a break, and I do want to do them regularly. So we'll see what I get up to this weekend, and I will be sure to announce it and talk about it on the next show. And I have a special surprise for this show. Back to trying the foods. This is a plum / an apricot. I believe it's called a Plumcot. I need to get the name, but this is a plum and apricot hybrid. And I looked up the health benefits. It's great for digestive system. It's great for the immune system. And again, it's a plum apricot hybrid. I've had many plums in my life. I've never had an apricot. And yeah, we're going to try it. But before we do, I want to get the official name, because it's important on this show that I provide you with all the accurate data. So let's see the name of it. It might be called a Plumcot. A Pluot. A Pluot is a hybrid fruit resulting in a cross between a plum and an apricot. So I think it's called either a Pluot or a Plumcot. And we're going to see how it is. I'll let you know. So it tastes pretty much like a plum. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. I thought the show stopped. It kept going. Okay. It tastes like a plum. So I don't really know what the apricot taste is coming from. But to me, it's really good. It tastes like a plum. There are a lot of benefits. Helps with the immune system. Helps with heart, too. Big heart benefit because it has a lot of fiber. So I recommend trying a Pluot or a Plumcot. Pretty good stuff. It reminds me of a Pluo, which is another kind of plum-like fruit. And yeah, I hope it was insightful. And I thank everybody for tuning in. And I'll see you next time on BREEZY Takes Manhattan. Stay safe. Stay awesome.